Every Halloween, a small, seemingly abandoned house on the edge of town came to life, decorated with skeletons, cobwebs, and eerie lights. It was famous for its elaborate haunted house setup, drawing visitors from nearby towns. But for Bobby, Richard, Patrick, and Jimmy, it was more than just a spooky attraction, it was forbidden territory. Their parents had always warned them to stay away, especially after dark, but like most teenagers, curiosity got the better of them. One crisp October evening, they made their plan. School had just ended, and as the sun dipped below the horizon, the four friends approached the house. The yard was surrounded by barbed wire, with a weathered sign that read, "Beware, dogs on premises." Patrick scoffed.
They haven't had dogs here for years. It's just to scare people off.
After some searching, they found a gap in the fence and slipped through. The house loomed before them, its boarded windows and peeling paint giving it a sinister air. They reached the front door and tried the handle, but it wouldn't budge.
"Let's find another way in,"
Jimmy muttered. Bobby volunteered to stay behind, standing watch by the front door in case anyone passed by. He pulled out his camcorder to entertain himself, narrating a mock vlog while his friends wandered off. Meanwhile, Richard, Patrick, and Jimmy circled the house, eventually finding a side door. It looked weak and warped, as if years of weather had taken their toll. With a swift push, Jimmy, always the strongest of the group, forced it open. Inside, the house was cold and musty. Faded Halloween decorations hung from the walls, and cheap plastic skeletons dangled from the ceiling. They laughed at the cheesy props, mocking the scare tactics. Then they found the clown room. The walls were painted with faded murals of grinning clowns, their eyes too wide, their smiles too sharp. Dozens of clown mannequins were scattered around, their painted faces cracked with age. Richard, who had always been afraid of clowns, froze in the doorway.
"Come on, they're just props,"
Patrick teased, nudging him.
"You guys go. I'll wait here,"
Richard said, his voice trembling. Patrick and Jimmy ignored him, venturing deeper into the room. That's when they heard the scream. It was distant but unmistakable, a sharp, terrified cry that echoed through the house. They bolted back to the front door, where they'd left Bobby. The door was now ajar, swinging gently in the breeze. They realized it was Bobby. They bolted back to the front door, where they'd left Bobby. The door was now ajar, swinging gently in the breeze. They all were puzzled as to how the door that was locked is now open. Inside, the air felt heavier, colder. They called Bobby's name, but there was no answer. As they searched, Patrick spotted something on the floor near a staircase, a camcorder. It was Bobby's. Patrick picked it up, his hands shaking. The screen flickered as he pressed play, revealing the last moments Bobby had recorded. The footage showed Bobby walking through a narrow, pitch-black corridor. He stopped suddenly, panning the camera toward a staircase. The stairs led upward into darkness. A loud slam echoed behind him, and the camera whipped around to reveal the front door closing on its own. Bobby's breathing quickened. The camera turned back to the staircase, and froze. At the top, a pair of legs appeared, pale and motionless. Patrick dropped the camcorder, his heart racing. The three friends ran, bursting through the front door and into the fading daylight. They didn't stop until they were far from the house. The authorities were called, and an investigation was launched, but no trace of Bobby was ever found. The footage was analyzed, but it provided no answers, only more questions. The house was condemned and eventually boarded up for good. Missing posters of Bobby were plastered across the community. His face was a constant reminder of the night they dared to enter that house. The smiles in his picture seemed frozen in time, mocking the silence that followed his disappearance. And every time someone walked past one, they couldn't help but feel the weight of unanswered questions. And the creeping chill of fear. Because deep down, They all wondered. If Bobby was still out there. Somewhere. Or if he never left that house at all.